Hello, and welcome to Rangam's presentation on Power of Inclusion. My name is Nish Parikh. I'm a CEO and co-founder of Rangam. As you know, October is National Disability Employment Awareness Month, and Rangam is strongly committed to this initiative. I would like to thank you for attending this session and our panel for their contribution today and our team at Rangam for putting together. Rangam is a global workforce solution provider and a digital talent marketplace where our philosophy of empathy drives innovation influences everything we do every single day. We are a business whose foundation is built on a mission to improve the quality of life for our candidates while providing exceptional services to our clients. Rangam promotes diversity, equity, and inclusion in the workplace using our total talent sourcing method. And recently, we have built integrated disability hiring program within our sourceable framework, and of course through our partnership with employer partners and the disability community. In our session today, we are talking with our friends and partners with JP Morgan Chase about the power of inclusion. At this point, I would like to hand it over to Tracey Andrus, our Executive Vice President of Strategy and Partnership at Rangam. Tracey, it's all yours.
Thank you, Nish, and good afternoon to our wonderful audience and our panelists here today. And for that introduction to get us started, Nish, a little bit about me. I lead strategy and partnership here with Rangam, but I have the great pleasure and honor every day to work with our Sourceable program and be able to work with client partners like JP Morgan, and the ability to be able to represent beautiful talent to those client partners. And you're going to hear from the team here at JP Morgan a little bit more about that. And so I've had a passion working with people with disability pretty much my entire life, family members as well. And I've been in workforce solutions for many years. And it's wonderful to be able to work side by side with so many beautiful people that are aligned to the inclusion and creating opportunity and gateway for talent within their organization. So with that, I would like to have our panelists introduce themselves as well. So why don't we go ahead and we'll start off with Ramon. Can you lead us off with an introduction?
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Ramon Heredia. I'm a program manager within receivable operations for JP Morgan Chase, also part of business management. I'm also the lead of the Autism at Work program for receivable operations, as well as as well as the Chicago market.
Hi, everyone. My name is Nuvia Vega. I'm a first shift manager here in the public sector for Chicago, also receivables operations. I'm also one of the first hiring managers for this initiative back in 2019. This is definitely an amazing opportunity, so thank you for having me. Definitely a passion program for myself, just like Tracey. It hits close to home, so I'm very excited to be here.
Great, thank you. Michelle.
Sure. Good afternoon, everybody. So Michelle Conklin, I'm extremely excited to be here. And this is a topic that I'm very passionate about as well as my colleagues, Ramon and Nuvia, who've introduced themselves already. So I'm actually responsible for the receivables organization at JP Morgan Chase. We have a very, very large presence in North America, about 4,000 employees or so that span our operation. And receivables is more or less of a check processing organization to where we process payments on behalf of corporations, government lockbox, and various institutions that require an exchange of information. So that context is important when we start talking about some of the roles that we've been able to partner with Rangam and Sourceable. As I said, I'm based in Chicago. I've been with the firm for about 17 years, and this is an initiative that was started a couple of years ago. And I will tell you, it has been an absolutely, I can honestly say, a life altering experience, but also just an opportunity to drive culture like we never thought possible. So excited to be here.
Thank you, Michelle, and thank you for being a champion and a sponsor. It's been incredible. And next we have Heather Austin. And Heather, I would like you to tell the audience a little bit more about yourself.
Okay. Hi, I'm Heather Austin. I work at a Chase location in Chicago. I'm fortunate and very blessed that I found the position I have through Rangam and the Autism at Work program. In my 40 years of life, I've worked at many kinds of jobs. I was always looking for a place where I could be a reliable and productive part of the team, a place where my autistic challenges wouldn't be a hindrance or an inconvenience to my coworkers or my company. And Chase is the first place I've been where that's been possible. I want this to be a place I get to work forever. So I'm pretty thankful for the opportunity that Rangam and Chase have given me to have a real career without the fear of being different that comes from so many other jobs. Oh, I should also tell you I have a cat. If you hear her yell in the background, there's like nothing wrong. She's just expressing her jealousy, then spending time with you guys and not her.
Thank you, Heather. Well, it's great to have you on, and we appreciate it. So in today's session, our panel is going to demonstrate the importance of ensuring that people with disabilities have a full access to employment during the national recovery from the COVID-19 pandemic. So with the power of inclusion is the theme for this year's NDEAM. And to start with our conversation here, we would like to talk a little bit about the concentrated effort that this beautiful team here took, and the powerful story that they have behind it, with the importance of not stopping anything that they had started. You heard Michelle talk about being committed to this over the last several years, and really making sure that they were taking down the barriers and creating opportunities for people with disabilities, and even scaling it during the height of the COVID, and throughout to today and going forward into other geographic locations. So can you start and share a little bit about that, Ramon? I know that you were right there, as very, very key and part of the team here in making that happen.
Sure. So if I can just go a little bit pre-COVID here. So we have a lot of, and we JP Morgan have a lot of programs that we offer to our employees to support our employees. And Autism at Work program is one of those programs. It started out in 2015, right? But we, as Michelle kind of alluded to earlier, engaged the Autism at Work team probably around 2018. We looked at our line of business, which Michelle talked about. It's a business of processing payments. It's a huge organization, close to 4,000 employees across 16 locations, across the globe. And so we looked at it as, we've got more than a handful of different types of roles open. So we looked at it as a good opportunity to fill and match talent to these different roles, and to match it specifically, through the program, through programs such as Autism at Work. So that's exactly what we did, right? We went full speed ahead, and we obviously worked with the great partnership that we have with Rangam Sourceable and onboarded talent. By the end of 2019, we had about 8 individuals, all in Chicago. We had huge plans for 2020 to expand into other sites. And then we got smacked by COVID, but it didn't stop us. And Tracey, you and I both had a road trip, a tour of autism inclusion and awareness sessions planned, and we were ready to go. And we literally had to change things up. So we were in person for the first portion of the training, and then we had to virtualize the second portion of that training because of COVID. The great thing here is that we had full support from all of our team members, all of our colleagues, all of our leadership to continue to move forward. The most important things, we wanted to make sure that everyone was comfortable across all sides, right? The teams were comfortable, the individuals, the talent that we were bringing on through the program was comfortable. And I think that's where kind of our partnership, with Rangam really shined. is making sure that we had that the consensus from all parties. So if we fast forward now, we've hired 63 individuals since 2019. We've expanded across 8 markets and 10 different roles. We've brought on different models that I think Michelle's going to touch on, and Michelle opened up with this, but it's been an amazing experience across all sides of the program. We've got individuals that have have a connection and really feel like they have a sense of purpose, and are doing more than just their day-to-day job because of this program. So I think it's really uplifted everyone involved.
Thank you, Ramon. Michelle?
Yeah, Ramon touched on a couple of really key points here. Just again, given the size and scale of the organization that we have, we're always hiring, right? We're always in search of talent. By nature, we're a very diverse organization. And so when we seek to onboard new talent, there's always been a need to ensure that we're looking kind of spanning across the organization to find talent wherever we can. And we typically onboard talent in 3 different ways. There's typically a direct hire approach where we identify individuals and hire them directly as JP Morgan Chase employees. We also have contractors that are on assignment. So we'll onboard temporary individuals. They're on assignment for a period of time. And then when the assignment is over, right, we offboard them. And then the third option, this is really where Rangam has been critical in our business model, is the contractor to full-time conversion. And this is the model that has really worked best for us in this specific space, where Rangam's was able, did I freeze? Sorry.
No, you're good. Heather,
Heather
was just here. Yeah, Heather was just pointing when you said contract to full time. She was just doing the yay.
That's where I was getting to as well. Heather is actually part of that third awesome option that we have. That's right. And so the partnership here really has been Rangam Source Able help us identify fantastic talent. They kind of create this partnership where they help the individual on board. They provide them with constant support throughout their journey. They're checking with them constantly, in addition to our own JP Morgan Chase management team. And it's just a constant partnership throughout the entire duration. We ensure it's a good fit, right? We are business after all, so this is not something that we're doing just out of the goodness of our heart. There is a need for talent, good talent, great talent. And then individuals like Heather who ultimately want to be here, right? They enjoy the assignment, they enjoy what they're doing, they're exceptional at it. We then convert them to a JP Morgan Chase employee. And that's really the journey that many of our, of the 63 individuals that we've brought on have taken. It really, really works for our organization. It is a clear kind of guide path to having a really, really solid foundation for individuals that ultimately get converted. And frankly, if you think about the impact that this initiative and this program has had on our overall culture, it's too much to almost explain, right? You think about every single person has some sort of personal connection, right, to an individual that has not had the right opportunity because of something, right? And whether it's because they're neurodiverse, maybe there is something else in their history or something else that has prevented them from having equal opportunity at the right type of employment, at the right type of organization, in the right type of culture. We all know somebody. We frankly may be part of that, kind of group as well. And so when we started to onboard individuals, through this program into our organization, what we noticed is it exposed us as an organization significantly in a more empathetic way, right? And I see my colleagues here have empathy t-shirts, and that's the perfect way to describe it, right? We as an organization became far more empathetic. We showed heart. We showed that we're not just a bank, right? We showed that we're not just a massive organization. We are an organization that genuinely values people and providing people the right opportunity to have gainful employment and eventually a career. And so I can't, again, speak enough about what this type of partnership has done to my team's culture and, again, the overall JP Morgan Chase culture.
Thank you, Michelle. And those benefits are very tangible and they're real and they're all the way around. And so I think, it's really important that we understand that. Nuvia, I know as a hiring leader, and you've been a part of the program since the inception. And can you share a little bit about the process? As Michelle said, there's a lot, but there's, specifically some of the things that have been done that's a little bit more unique, but also has become more of a universal way in which you are doing things within your organization as well.
Yes, I think when we started the program, I mean, this was new for us, right? We were trying to design this from the ground up, and we looked at everything. We wanted to broaden the audience, the talent that we were tapping into. So we looked at everything. We partnered with Rangam and Source Able to look at the minute that we identified a candidate, starting from the interview process, trying to figure out are these interview questions even suited for our talent that we're sourcing for? Is it too intricate? Are we overwhelming them? We incorporated production floor tours. That way, they became more familiar with the type of roles that they were going to be applying for, more of a hands-on experience. If they wanted to, they can bring out any support or job coaches that they might have. So once they would walk through the production floor, they were able to identify and raise their hand, more inviting, say, hey, if I was to get this job, would I be able to wear noise canceling devices? Or if I was to perform this task, would you have a desk that would lift because I have a particular disability, a spine issue? So those were the gaps that we were able to close by changing the way we onboard staff, by changing our interview process. It was more of an inviting conversation than an intimidating drill of tell me about your work history. We were trying to identify this person has talent in this area. We can put them in our open position in this department. So it was more of a individual approach versus a more intimidating process for onboarding.
Thank you. Yeah. And I think, go ahead, Nish.
No, go ahead. Ramon, you want to say something?
Yeah, I was just going to mention one more thing that I forgot to mention that I think is worth mentioning. Um, uh, just to show the level of commitment. So before we even onboarded a single individual within any site, we did the inclusion and awareness with our current employees, and through this program, we trained over 2,000 individuals on autism awareness and inclusion, and so I think it's something that it's definitely worth mentioning, right? Just because of the level of effort that went behind it before we even brought the talent on board.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that, Ramon. And I think the other thing what you were saying too, Nuvia, is that to streamline and create a more welcoming, interviewing process as well as onboarding is getting to know the environment, and that COVID created a little bit of challenge because we had to go virtual. So the partnership and being able to develop, we're creating some guides so we could share with Heather and others. This is what the environment's like, giving you maybe not first view, but a good view as to what it would be like on site, and trying to be cautious and and safe at the same time. We'll sort of talk about a little bit of that too in more detail, but those are all tools. We want to be sure that we're always arming our talent with tools to be successful, and be ready for an interview, or to, as we refer to, a meet and greet, as well as when they start their career at the client site.
And Tracy, what I was just saying that, from Ramon, Michelle, and Nuvia, what we heard is a perfect example which demonstrates that it's not about individual on the spectrum, it's about us, how we create the right environment, right? Because what we have seen that they get pretty good training throughout the years, with the different providers and families and education system. But how do we tap into that training and create the right environment so they can thrive? That's the beauty, and that's what we've been talking about. And every point Ramon, Nuvia, and Michelle has mentioned, it's complete. It's a true demonstration of that, how to create that right environment and then sustain that environment.
Thank you, Nish. And you will hear, so Heather has been one of the team members here that has helped to all of our material, all of the work that we do is in partnership with our talent community as well. And so we value their perspective and their input and their, guiding us and what's working, what's not working. We're always listening and learning. And that's what's so important. So from that, I'm going to go over to Heather. And Heather, you just heard what from Ramon and Michelle and Nuvia and Nish. And you've heard JP Morgan talk a little bit about the background and the story, but I'd love to hear yours. The audience would love to hear yours too. And you are now, as we were doing this while Michelle was talking, you are now an employee of JP Morgan. And congratulations, and we're extremely excited for you. And so could you share with us about your career journey and how, Rangam as part of that career journey helped you, find the opportunity at JP Morgan. But I know that you had some struggles before that, but what brought you to Rangam, and tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. So just so you know where I'm coming from, the experiences at the places I worked before Rangam and Chase was pretty much always the same. I learned repeatedly it was not acceptable to have a hard time at work. It was unreasonable and unprofessional for me to let my autism affect my work, because autism was a personal problem, and you don't bring personal problems to work. Things like work relationships were hard because people would be irritated with my questions, and I was often considered, weird and too hard to talk to. And so after years of the same thing happening over and over again, I just ended up being angry with myself for being inconvenient, and I developed a lot of fear about talking with management and my coworkers. So when I learned about the Autism at Work program, I pretty much only had a hope that maybe they could find me a place where, that people would be pretty much resigned to tolerate me. And so I didn't know that Rangam was about to change my life, and I'm very thankful to the Lord for them. Rangam already expected my challenges. They're very diligent and careful about figuring out what position would be a good fit. They didn't mind my questions, and they explained every step in the process with as much detail as I wanted. They joined my Zoom interview with Chase just in case I needed anything. And they continually offered to help me understand things through the whole hiring process. I always felt comfortable asking them for advice about what to do. Something I didn't expect and that really impressed me is the amount of communication the staff at Rangam and Chase have with each other. They're committed to making sure that I understood my role and was equipped to be successful at it. If there was something I didn't fully understand, Rangam wouldn't hesitate to offer jumping on a Zoom call with me and my manager to help make sure we all ended up on the same page. They never gave shallow advice, left me with the best guess about what to do. Their help has always been detailed and personal so that I could always have confidence that I'm doing the right thing.
Well, thank you, Heather. And I appreciate it. And, the thing is that we always need to bring our true, authentic self to, wherever, if it's work, it's home, it's, on Zoom calls and whatever it might be. And we should all be accepted for who we are. So thank you. Thank you very, very much. And we're honored every day that we can, be able to make that bridge and create those opportunities. But as Ramon said too, is that JP Morgan made a commitment, and it goes all the way, to the global framework that they have within JP Morgan that was built and designed with the Autism at Work program. And that's what's great is our partnership is aligned to the overall framework. And then, Michelle and her leadership team are carrying through with that commitment. And so the dedication and their team members learning and understanding and their willingness to adapt and understand and listen, we can guide, coach, and consult to ensure that that some changes, because at the end of the day, Michelle said it's a business. We've got, to run the business. But I think there's been some interesting, facts that have come out and some stats. And I don't know if Ramon or who wants to share, where we've been able to show that because of the process and the readiness that team members can be in the great training that's provided during orientation at the client, that team members are are able to work with each other and be acclimated and productive, and be able to be engaged at the get-go.
Yeah, and that was kind of what we saw out of our first wave, or our pilot, we'll call it. We initially launched this pilot as a 4-person pilot in Chicago, and we were seeing individuals with productivity rates that were about 50% greater than the same group of individuals that started around the same time as them, and their quality was almost second to none, and so. Right, I think Michelle said this earlier. Like, if you look at it, there's a true business case here, right? This is not a charity that we're running here, right? There's a true business case tied to this, and what outside of the productivity and outside of the quality and the performance, there's also the level of commitment that they have to be here on a day-to-day basis, right? And to want to be better. I had a supervisor once come up to me and say that she had an individual, and he was kind of taking a little bit of time to get up to speed, but every single day at the end of his shift, he would come up to her and ask, how did he do that day? Right? Now imagine if we had that out of every single employee, that wants to know how well did they do today so that they can do better tomorrow. I think it speaks volume.
Thank you, Ramon. Great. And thank you, Heather, for sharing. So it's good to hear about the career opportunities. We want to talk a little bit about, since this is about the recovery and the power during NDEAM here, and the power of inclusion. I know there were some pretty amazing things that went on to ensure that the team members that were on site, I know some of you that are on here right now have been on site the entire time, that there was a lot of planning that was involved. So Michelle, I'm going to start with you. And I just have to say that I applaud the work that JP Morgan has done throughout this, and the constant, refining and improve, making sure that everything was that all employees are safe. So please do share what measures that you put in place.
Yeah, I mean, I still have a little bit of what I think is PTSD, coming out of this, hopefully on the other side, but still not quite out, but that's okay. Look, every single company has contingency plans. They have resiliency plans. They have disaster recovery plans, right? We all have them. We all look at them every single 6 months or every single year. We certify them. We know what we do, right? But in no plan is there, although people will say there's a plan, in no business plan is there an unknown pandemic that is spread across the entire world within literally almost a weekend. And that's exactly how it felt, right? I remember specifically on a Friday afternoon, going to happy hour, celebrating an employee who just took another opportunity and saying, yep, see you all in a week, right? Or a couple of weeks, because that was the intent. Mm-hmm. The business that I run is considered an essential business. So we never shut down for a single day. So we have been in the office 365 days a year since day one of this entire thing starting. We just didn't have the option to shut down. And so when you start talking about playbooks and what do you do in a pandemic, never do you really think that the decisions that you are going to be made are ultimately going to be life or death, right? Nor are they going to be how to protect mass amount of people from potentially getting sick from something that you know nothing about. And I remember the first, I would say couple of weeks were petrifying. There was, if you guys recall, CDC said no masks. Well, that didn't seem right at all, but okay, we're going to follow the CDC guidelines. And so the decisions that we had to make very, very real time without much guidance from anybody, because nobody knew what was going on, ended up being a lot of gut decisions using what we thought was the best the process that we had. So immediately, or almost immediately, we started providing food to our employees, because if you guys recall and go back to the mid-March timeframe, there wasn't a lot of food to be found on shelves. And especially given our 24/7 nature operation, I couldn't fathom our employees coming to work, sitting in the office for 8 to 10 hours a day, then having to go to the grocery store, stand in line, and by the time they get into the grocery store, there being absolutely no food available, right? People were leaving families behind because we were essential employees coming in. Again, it just didn't feel that it was the right thing to do to leave people completely high and dry. So we set up food pantries, right, in some of our locations where we converted an entire garage into a food pantry. We worked with a local vendor to, provide us mass amounts of produce, of dried goods, of toilet paper, paper towels, whatever we can get our hands on at that point. We gave out bags and bags of groceries to employees. We had milk, we had eggs, right, just the basic staples so that our employees could feed their families, feed themselves, and when they left to go to work, because they had to go to work, they weren't leaving, empty refrigerators behind. We had lunches, dinners, breakfasts, whatever your shift was, so that again, like just basic needs of food wasn't something that any of our employees had to worry about because they at least knew that when they came on site, they were going to be fed. If you think about PPE, and I go back to Matt's comment, the amount of PPE that we were able to supply very early on, I think rivals what some hospitals were able to do. We had gowns, right? We were able to secure masks. We had gloves. We had face shields. We had everything that you could possibly think of that we could get our hands on. We almost immediately, worked kind of through all of our contacts, got as much PPE as we possibly could. We had those partitions, right, that you see now in all the grocery stores. We were probably first to market to come up with some random partitions between all of our desks, but that's how we had to keep our employees' workspace clean. And then kind of from a sanitation perspective, we didn't know if it was going to work, but we were surely going to try. We started doing on-site testing. So before, again, testing was a thing. This February, we instituted on-site testing for all employees once a week, mandatory, regardless of whether you're vaccinated or not. We adjusted people's schedules. So we created these groups of individuals that used to see each other and passing in between shifts that probably for 14, 15 months went without ever seeing each other. We had fire breaks so that our cleaning crews could come in and disinfect every single piece of surface that they can. Then the next crew would come in, they would leave, disinfect again, same thing. And that's tough. That's tough for especially individuals that need a pattern, they need some sort of consistency to all of a sudden walk in and then next day everything is completely different. We had a bunch of financial incentives because again, we knew that people were really going through difficult times. Significant others were losing jobs, right? People were moving in with each other. There were multi-generational families living together. And so we knew that we had to take care of people financially as well, not just from a food perspective. We started supplying people with parking passes, reimbursing them with gas, supporting ride shares, just to make sure that people had a safe method of getting into work. And then, think back to June of last year when there was a significant amount of social unrest and there was, safety was a concern as well. Then we couldn't shut down. We're just in the type of business where we cannot shut down our operations. So we put quite a bit of individuals into hotel rooms just to get them out of some dangerous situations. And all of that just evolved, right? Like every single week we'd be trying something different. It worked, we continue, it didn't, we punted and moved on to the next thing. And I give, all the credit in the world to my incredible team that just continued to flex, continued to come up with different solutions, and just the overall JP Morgan Chase organization for literally never saying no. There was not a single no anywhere to be heard, which was absolutely fantastic. And I have a lot of respect for this organization as a result.
Thank you, Michelle. It is amazing. And it was, nobody really knew, there wasn't a playbook out there on there. So, applaud JP Morgan for the great work on that. And then also the fact that our talent, really felt, our people felt safe. They knew that the environment was being taken care of. And, there's that, they showed a lot of care and effort on that. And I know it wasn't easy. Nuvia, anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, I think that Michelle listed all the things we could have possibly done as far as providing them. The other aspect was our leadership was here from day one. I think that's what made JP Morgan so different. We weren't expecting staff to show up to work because we were also showing up. As far as the uncivil arrest, it wasn't something that we were hearing from the media. It was something that we can look out the window and make the decision right there and then and say, hey, it says that there's going to be a protest at 11. It's 9 a.m. it does not look safe, we would make the decision right there and then to say, let's get these people safe. So aside from the things, tangible things and the food pantries, it was the moral support. It was becoming the staff sounding boards. It was listening to their concerns. You know, some people just were just overwhelmed by everything that was happening. And as leaders, our roles change. 2020, I don't think any one of us managed production. It was more of a managing the safety, the emotional state of our staff. And none of us were ready for that, but we took on that role, and here we are, 2021, we're still here. So we did something right.
That's awesome. That's great. And COVID or pre-COVID and during COVID and now, I have to acknowledge that I know that you give out excellent awards. And with this program, I believe there's been 3 excellent awards, with the dedication, hard work, and partnership, and really listening to the people, and to your employees, as well as the talent, and which is, working there on contract as well. So it's much appreciated. So thank you. You're on mute, Nish.
I'm sorry. If I may add one more thing, which we have seen through this partnership with JP Morgan Chase is during this pandemic, we also see some of the jobs were on site. Hiring managers, they were ready to make that accommodations and change that to remote jobs, and some of those great changes also we have experienced during this time.
So Heather, I know that you started during the kind of the bell part of this COVID time at JP Morgan. Why don't you share a little bit about your experience?
Okay, well, I think Chase has been tremendously generous to their employees during COVID. To me, it was clear they put a lot of thought into doing things well. They arranged everything in the workplace to make social distancing easy. They've got signs and instructions like everywhere. You're never confused about what to do. The best practices are like everywhere, so you know. They're diligent about telling us when someone had COVID. They sent home anyone who might have been at risk catching it. Let's see, if I could have had less than 0 concern about COVID at work, Chase would achieve that. They did a really good job.
That's good. And so I think the other thing, Heather, now that, working at JP Morgan, you really felt as though the team was prepared and ready to be able to, show you the opportunities of what your work assignment was about. Can you share a little bit about how your experience was with that when you started, besides the COVID aside, just your work experience?
Yeah, I got it. When it's kind of things like training and stuff, I can say that management's always been pretty amazing, is doing it what it takes to enable me to do my job. I'd say their ability borders on being magical. I'm blessed to be under their leadership and very grateful I can trust them with my career. I think they're pretty good at their jobs. And I know you just spent some time explaining, but for me, it's still kind of hard to understand how you manage the most important part of this program, which is when I go to work every day, I'm not treated like a person with a disability, not treated like a person who's inconvenient or special, just treated like a person. And no one makes a big deal out of my challenges. I'm part of a team. It's a team that understands as long as my challenges are not ignored, they're not going to stop me from being good at my job or from using my strengths to be an asset to the company. So, they're helping make Chase a safe place for people to work and grow. And I just really appreciate that.
That's great. Thank you so much, Heather. I appreciate that. And, starting a new job, especially during a global pandemic, can be quite a journey. And especially with your prior work experience. So for anyone, it can be, there's a lot of anxiousness about all of that. And what is it going to be like? And so there's such success to celebrate and through that.
I had a lot of fear when I started just because of my previous jobs. And but the more I saw management, I just saw management give everybody the chance they need to get through any challenges they have so they can be good at their job. And it's all very smooth. Like I said, nothing's ever a big deal. We just keep moving forward and getting stuff done. And it's pretty awesome. Everybody's been very, very nice.
That's great. So that kind of moves us to the next stage, which is about, being able to provide room for growth for your employees, and how do you plan for that? And so Nuvia, I'm going to go to you.
Yeah, I think Heather touched on it. I think that that's how we provide the same opportunities for all of our employees. It's no different for a Heather or for the next person. That's how we provide opportunities. We just extend the same opportunities for anybody. We're not creating roles. We're simply placing the talent in the right place. We provide the same support for all of our employees, which is monthly feedback. You know, the performance, the supervisor support, the skills coaches, everybody has the same chances. It doesn't matter what abilities or disabilities you might have. It's just a matter of guiding them in the right direction and making sure that their role suits what they bring to the table.
Yeah, I think that's great. And that really does kind of zero in on this, the power of inclusion here is also, providing them the opportunity to bring in those abilities and to share that and, learn from it and from all the people that work with you. Ramon, Michelle, anything that you want to add to that?
I think, and Tracey, you've probably heard me say this quite a few times, but like just the power of inclusion, right? When you create an inclusive environment, it creates an environment that allows anyone and everyone to be successful because of the environment that you created. There's one thing that Heather said earlier that I think really touched me a bit here is that she trusted leadership, and I think that goes both ways, right? So we as leaders have to trust the program, we have to trust our team, we have to trust the talent, and trust that everyone's going to do well and everyone's going to do their job, and in some cases they're going to do beyond their job. And if we have that level of trust, then I think we'll earn it from the employees and all employees, right? Whether they have a disability or not. And so when I was really happy to hear Heather say that, because I think it goes both ways, and I think that's what makes us a successful organization and makes the Autism at Work a successful program.
And that's great, Ramon. And I kind of will go with play off of that a bit, because listen to that growth and the success that Heather, I know that what I've heard from Nuvia and the team here is that there's been a certain amount of empowerment that's come from providing employees room for growth. And I know I've seen it. I understand that you felt that empowerment yourself, and that you've been helping to train other employees. And I think that speaks volumes to this team. That that's the power of collaboration. I am a connector and a collaborator at heart, and I love to see that when we can, be able to have other talent, show us new and different innovative ways. So can you tell the audience here a little bit about that?
Sure. Let's see. Well, I know I'm thankful that when I'm excited to help people that Chase lets me. And what I really appreciate is that they always let me decide what my head can handle, and they never push me to do anything that's too hard for it. They trust that I'm eager to learn and grow, and they're flexible with the plans to help me do that. Since I've asked like a bajillion questions, I know a lot of answers to stuff, and so I like helping new people understand things that they can do. And because I have autism, it's easier for me to recognize and understand some of the neuro challenges and thought processes that people might have better. So I can offer some insight on how something can be approached. They're letting me do that, which is good. Chase has worked hard to create a safe place for diversity to flourish, and I want everyone who works with us to understand that. I want them to be excited as I am to work here. And I want them to feel like they're part of a team. They can be proud of the work we do as part of it. I want them to know the sky's the limit. No one's going to stop them from being good at their work, learning as much as they want, and growing as much as they can. And so, it's exciting.
Yeah, and that's great. And I know that you have worked, closely with our client program manager, Jana, and team with Nuvia and others, developing and working on understanding and seeing that there's been, how can we better train or get people acclimated to some of the different processes, and sharing that insight has been valuable, and it's only helped to increase the level of comfort in the roles, as well as in some of those roles, as well as the engagement. Anyone else?
Anybody who wants to anybody who wants to can do the job. It's just a matter of figuring out how. And that's that where the team is willing to help, well, there's not going to be a barrier between you and getting it done. That's awesome.
That's great. That's great. So anybody want to add anything else to that before I move on?
Yeah, I just want to add, I think that the ones that benefit, it's ourselves. For Heather's instance, for example, I interviewed her, we hired her for an operator, and she brings so much to the table, and it goes back to us assessing people's talent. She brings so much to the table that we immediately saw the opportunity for her to be the guide for any future onboarding. So she serves, all kinds of purposes for us. She culture carrier. She helps us with onboarding. She's able to decipher what's the struggle with any new hires. And again, it's a conversation just like we would have with any other person. Treating her the same. Where it's like, Heather, do you think you can do this? Do you think you can do that? And she tells you, yes, it's too much. No, I'm ready. Or can we come back? Can we regroup? So we all win. And in our case, I think that we're the ones that are benefiting the most from having Heather on board.
That's great. That's great. Well, I know that David, our other client program manager, is thrilled. He, of course, worked with you at the very beginning, Heather, too. So that's nice. And, so thank you for that.
So Tracey, if I may add, this is a reflection of power of inclusion is driven by trust, partnership, and ongoing learnings, right? We all have been talking about this is new, and trust, what JP Morgan Chase team and the leadership team has put in Rangam, and Rangam's team has put the trust in Heather's talent, and how we all collaborated and built this true power of inclusion and demonstrated the power of inclusion. That's a beautiful thing. That's what I really appreciate and would like to thank everyone here on this call.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you all for participating and attending, and to the audience for letting us share the story and the power of inclusion. Nish, do you want to close it up?
Sure. Thank you, Tracey, and once again, thank you, Ramon, Michelle, Nuvia, Heather, for powerful story that truly is what we mean by power of inclusion. As I mentioned earlier, to summarize some of the key takeaways, along with the trust and the partnership and ongoing learning, is the importance of ensuring that people with disability have full access to employment, planning to ensure successful outcomes. And a lot of times during the pandemic and some of those challenging time, as Michelle mentioned, how do we constantly change and evolve and tweak, because there are certain areas which we cannot plan. It's unpredictable. So how do we tweak that till we make it work? And the impact from empowering employees. We heard that from Heather, how empowering not only just for her, but everyone around her as part of the organization, as part of the team. And when that creates that culture of empathy, that's the true power. That's what I personally believe, and that's what we at Rangam believe in. I'm Nish Parikh. Thank you for joining us today, where at Rangam, empathy drives innovation every single day. Have a great day.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thanks.